All right, guys, so I'm going to quickly break down this material that I did here. I'm using a couple of different techniques here. I got a dirt node. I'm going to show you also how I did these stickers and how I got them to look worn out and stuff like that. So let's get straight into it. So first thing, we'll break down the stickers. The stickers are actually really easy. Here, what you can see is I literally just put them on a plane. And some of them, I think I actually used, that I guess I didn't. I thought I used the shrink wrap modifier, but I just manually placed them on here. And the thing with stickers, especially when you're using Octane, you kind of need to have an alpha file, right? So if we look into the file here, this is the actual, I'm using a universal material, and I'm gonna go ahead and just click on the sticker here for a minute and we'll isolate the sticker. So this is what we're working with here. So if I come in here, this is our universal material, which is basically just the actual material. And then you can see here, I have an RGB image plugged into the opacity. And if we quickly solo this, this is what it looks like. Again, black background, white value, black conceals, white reveals, okay? And this is allowing me to have this scraped look. And again, you can do this in Photoshop, GIMP, or anything that you can do type of painting stuff in here. And literally take the brush and brush over this, right? So even just to get this here, what you could do, when we come back to the original sticker, which is just this, when you're in Photoshop, you'll select this image and then literally just fill it with white on a black background. Again, when we come to the alpha channel, you should have this. Then you just take a brush to it or some type of texture brush and just rub away some of it to make it look like it's been ripped off. We got those two together. When you put those two together, and then you get this here. So if I take this out of the opacity, this is what we're left with. And again, we don't want to see this background here. So you need to put in an alpha for the sticker. And this is where we plug that into the opacity. Boom, there it is. Now we have our PNG, and then we can just slap this on whatever you want. Now, what I've also did here was I actually pumped in some roughness to give this a little bit of texture. And if here, I'm just using a smudge map. If you can clearly see here, I'm just got a smudge map on top of that. I'm using a box projection and all this stuff here. Slap that box projection on top of there with the white map. And then boom, there we got it. You can just see, we can get a little bit of that texture here just to break it up. You can see it just so slightly right there, just to break it up and give it a little bit of some, texture. Then I also do have something in the bump here. Again, just added detail to give it a little bit of texture. You can see here, looks like it has like a little bit of paperness to it. And the way I achieved that was coming up here. Now we break this down. I'm using a hashtag. Basically, it's a procedural texture that comes with Octane. And what that's doing is it's giving me these little tiny lines here. If I zoom in, is this giving me these little tiny lines? And that's all this thing here does. It produces just little lines, and I can control the length and the radius of them. And what I did was I've got that in here, but I've kind of distorted a little bit of it by using this distort mesh UV node here. And I plug that into the projection, and that allows me to distort the mesh. Sorry guys. And the way I'm distorting the mesh is by pumping in a noise texture. This noise texture here is actually just breaking up those lines a little bit. You can see it's very subtle. It's nothing really crazy. It was just to break up the uniformity again. And I'm plugging that into the rotation, the scale, and the translation. And then that's going to be pumped through there, and it's going to distort the projection, which we can't view that with the node wrangler here. So then I take that and that pumps through here. And then from here, I'm just going to convert that. I'm going to invert it using a gradient map here, and then boom, that's just going to flip everything around so we can use it as a bump map here, and it's just going to go down into the bump. Now what I also did was there is another texture input right here for the texture mask, and again, I'm using the same material. I'm using the same node right here, node texture, and I'm actually recycling it. I'm using it once here, and then I'm piping it out to this UV transform, which is a really cool node in Octane. It allows me to recycle this one noise, and then I can change the dimensions. I can change the size here. So I got it a lot more bigger compared to what I had down here. There's the original that's going pumped in, and that's being piped down into there. And then I come up here, and I'm using this as a mask for the #texture, again, just to give me some variation of coming out of this here. And then all together, boom, you can kind of slightly see the little bit of different color tones race, with the mask working right there. Okay, so that's how I did that. And that's how we get this sticker to just look like it has a little bit of texture to it. Now, you don't have to go through all that if you really don't want, but what I'm finding out with renders now, these little 1% things add up. they really add up to just make it look that much better. So really spend the time on that, okay? So that's how we do the stickers, okay? This main block here, which is, I spent the most time on here, we'll go ahead and solo this one. Now we've got a lot of stuff going on here. I've got edge wear, I've got some slight, you can even see here, we've got some slight bump actioning happening. We've got chips, we've got scratches, you know, we've got concaved. I got stuff, you know, in the corners here. We get a little bit more better view here on the other side here where the light's hitting it. I've got stuff, you know, grunge and dirt in the corners there, right there. Look at all that. And we got edge wear. Okay, now the way we do this, it's actually very simple. It's all about layering. Again, those 1% add up. You got 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, then you got 5% of just good tiny little details. And I'm going to show you how to break that down here. So what we've got first here, I started off with this material here. It all started off with this base red material here. This was going to be the base. And then what I wanted to do with this was, again, some basic grunging up here. So we've got our roughness. I ended up piping that same smudge technique. I pumped that over there just to break up the roughness, so we can solo this so you can see what that looks like. There is the smudge, and it's just, again, a basic smudge map. It's not even procedural, it's just a map. And then I get that pumped into a gradient map, again, just to control my values a little bit, just to have, again, more control. And then from there, we also have here, again, another bump. I have another bump into this red paint material. We come up here to the top. Again, here it is. Here's the hash slag, which is an absolutely very convenient and powerful node. I'm using up, again, these little squiggly lines to get some chips and scratches inside of here. And again, if you get in close here, you can see that they're a little bit distorted. And again, I'm using that distortion node, that distortion technique. This is just to distort it to get those squiggly lines and stuff like that. That's the noise that I'm using to break it up. Again, I'm also recycling that noise back here in the top and bringing it back down. So again, a different noise. It's the same pattern that I did on the other one for the texture of the sticker. Same thing, repeated that. Why do more work if we don't have to? Brought that over to the hash slag. Here's the hash slag. And then again, we're going to convert that, invert it for a texture. It literally copy and paste that and brought that over here. Pump that into the bump of the red texture. And then we have just a little bit of some grunginess happening, roughness wise and bump wise. That bump, it's subtle, but when it grabs the light, it just really gives the illusion that this thing is really grungy. There it is. Check it out. There it is. You can just see it happening there. Okay. So from there, I also added in another texture, which is going to be the other paint layer, the yellow layer. So to mix those two, I grabbed this mix node here, and let's see what the yellow paint's looking like first. Here's the yellow paint. Again, recycling stuff, and also saves resources. I'm taking that same smudge material, pump that into the roughness. And then in this time here, I don't think I pumped in, no, I didn't put anything into the bump on this one here. I kept this one smooth because it was going to be too much, right? And then we mix these both together. So we got the red and the blue, we mix these together, and this is what you get. Now, what I did also do was I took that hash slag that we had over here, and I also pumped that into the amount. So again, those little scratches are scratching to the paint was below, which was the yellow paint. So now we can see everywhere we had those scratches, it scratched away the red, and now we have a little bit of yellow peeking through. Again, small, minute 1% details that add up. I take all of that, we're going to pump that into another mix node because we want to take what we have here and we want to layer on top of that. Here you can see the smudge map coming in nice and clean there. That is fantastic, right? So what I want to do is add some dirt to this here. I want to just add a little bit of dirt because it's too clean. So I come up here, I'm going to go up here to the top first, and then I think I took my first dirt edge node. This is what we got here. We're going to see the dirt texture node. Now this dirt texture node I start with is just for the edges right here. I'm just doing on the edges here. You can see on the side there and on the sides here, just an edge one. And we come in here, here's the node. Now what I do here, we check this invert normals. This allows us to do edge. If I untick it, now it's going to do the concave inside. So here I just wanted edge, right? So I just got my edge here. And then again, we need to break up this super clean line because it's really clean. If I take this away right now, you're going to see, boom, there it is. It's just clean, sharp lines. I want to break that up. Again, we use a texture node to break that up here. So I'm using this noise texture, and we can see, we can solo the noise texture. That's what the noise texture is doing. And again, that's just breaking up these edges here. There it is. So it's not all nice and clean and smooth and nothing special going on there. So I take that out and pump it into the amount which we're going to use to mix our red and yellow. Now I want to chip away that edge. So let's look at our edge. Now you can see there is our edge. Boom, we chipped away that edge. Now we have our paint, our yellow paint there on the bottom and on the top and all on the edges here. And again, all of other stuff is still carrying over. We still got our roughness from the first mix we did and all the little tiny scratches. Again, we're building on top of layering and just keep layering it up. So from there, next thing I want to do is I'm going to take what we just did here and we're going to pipe that into another mix node. And in this mix node, we've come down here to the bottom. We see we have another new material. I have this gray kind of just dirt. It's just a dirt color basically. This is all it is. It's set to diffuse. I don't have anything plugged into it. It's just literally dirt. So that's what it looks like. It's very flat and matte. But what I do is I take a copy of this dirt texture node we had here, bring it over here. Now this one, I unchecked it and I want this one to be the cavities. I want this one to go into the opposite of what the other one was doing. We're not looking to scratch the edges. We're looking to get into those little corners and stuff like that and get some dirt and grime build up in the corners because that's what happens naturally, right? And this is what's happening here now in our corners here. All of our corners, we've got that dirt happening. And again, to break up those clean edges, we need to break it up. So again, if I take this off, we're gonna have super clean edges. We don't want that. And tomorrow's weather will be a high of 61 and it's gonna be cold tomorrow. Thanks, Microsoft. Again, I'm recycling because I'm saving resources. My laptop is not really made for this stuff. So again, I take my same noise and I pipe it out into a UVW transform, which allows me to recycle the same noise pattern and change the dimensions, change the size, change the rotation. All I did was scale it up, or actually scaled it down, made it smaller. So this is what it looks like now. All I'm gonna do is go ahead and pipe that into our radius map, which allows us to break up those edges. So now this is what we got here. A little bit of breakup, just some happening to make it look different and not clean. Again, we pipe that into our mix node and we're mixing we're mixing what we have before, the whole setup, and we're mixing the dirt on top of that in these cracks, and this is what we got. Now you can see the dirt buildup. We've got dirt building up here, right here in the corners, on these edges, not on the edges, but where the corners meet. And there, boom, there's our dirt and grime. Absolutely fantastic. Again, it's just stacking on top of each other, layering up this stuff, right? So from there, I pumped it out again, and you can just continue going on with this as much as your computer can handle, right? So I take what we got here, and then I added in, where's the second material? It looks like it's coming. Okay, so I'm taking the yellow paint and I'm bringing it all the way over here into the second material. I'm mixing it with the first, and here I have a different setup here. Now I'm actually using a bump here. There's a special displacement here in our mix node. And I'm taking this vertex displacement, which is using the subdivision, and I'm actually going to add in a little bit of like kind of more noise on top. So if we go quickly solo this, you see here, I've got this noise here, just a little bit of noise here. And what I want to do with this noise is just make it pop out. So it looks like we have, like, you know, some paint chipping, some paint lifting off and stuff here. So that's what I'm using this here again. And I'm going to use the yellow and mix those on. So it's going to be on the yellow paint here. So if I come in here, connect this is what we've got. Boom, Octane crashed. Okay, and we're back. So that's basically what we got going here. Again, this is adding in a little bit of bump here, just the outer edge here to get a little bit of painted lifted effect. The best thing again about a lot of this procedural stuff is I'm free to come back in line. If I want to change the color up on this, we can easily change the color. Come over here to something like this, pull out a little bit of the saturation here, something like that. Then I can take this red here. Matter of fact, we can even add in some metallic on this here. If I go to metallic, play with the values, boom, there it is. Super quick and easy. If you're really into this in Blender Octane, make sure you check the link down below for our exclusive Blender Octane community, where you can download this file and get inside of it and play with it. Catch you guys in the next one. Keep rendering. It's the only way you'll get better. Peace.